And another episode of Twins Baseball. Jesse and Cade are going to review it here on the North Star Sports Media podcast. Cade, how are you today?
Good. It's, I can't believe we're saying that the Twins had a sweep.
I still don't believe it.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend in all for Minnesota sports between the Wild taking oh, maybe it was Thursday night because it was the night of the draft. It was still a
Yep.
good game on Saturday, and then the Wolves going up 3-1 on the Lakers. I said Wolves in five. I hope it comes true. And then the Twins. The Twins have won five of six, and they're a Buxton catch away from losing the series against the White Sox. But it almost seems like that Buxton catch has lit a fire underneath the team. And I was saying this before we hit record that it if that third game would have gone all the way through the ninth inning, I think the Twins would have won 4-3. So we really would be talking about a 6 game win streak, to be perfectly honest. Um, just kind of a little bit of a recap of what happened over those last 6 days. You had the Buxton catch. David Festa with a 1.4 ERA gets sent down to AAA. Chris Paddock still sucks. Luke Keeschel fractured his forearm. We can't have anything nice in Minnesota. And Matt Wallner's nowhere near ready. Royce Lewis is in St. Paul. Jose Miranda strained his thumb picking up a 24 pack of Ice Mountain water at Target. And Pablo Lopez was able to throw 100 pitches in his first start back. They're going to be facing off against Cleveland starting tonight in roughly about a half hour. What's your prediction coming up on this series?
Well, kind of like we talked about a little bit before this, I mean, Cleveland's pitching does not scare a lot like anyone right now.
Right.
Their top guys are still kind of struggling. We can get to their bottom guys. To me, I mean, it should be every series, but to keep the momentum, having Bailey over come out tonight and give us, I mean, hopefully over five. We say that every game. It's never true. But if he can give us a good 5 or 6 innings of 3 runs or less baseball, I'd put a lot of money on the Twins winning tonight.
Yeah, I I think you're right about that, and it's an important game because the game tomorrow is going to be Paddock against Tanner Bybee, arguably the Guardians' best pitcher. So if he can steal one tonight, you're playing with house money at that point. Any insight into as to why this team has picked up five of six? It seems like the offense has come alive a little bit. What have you seen?
Honestly, it's actually for once in the last 6 games, it's been complete baseball.
Hmm.
Um, the feeling is back to what it should be. The offense is starting to finally come alive. And then, like I said, our predictions before in the last episode was I said our starting pitcher carries us. And you can really put it on the back of every single start that we had. The Paddock one, a little down spot. But again, we gave up 3 runs. If 3 runs as a starting pitching or a starting whole complete game is a bad outing, we'll take that.
Yeah, it's a quality
So
start.
to me, it's just getting quality starts out of our guys, and then finally now our bats are coming alive. We talked about it 2 or 3 episodes ago about how barrel percentage, the Twins were actually a top 10 team in barrel percentage, but
Mhm.
also a top 3 team in outs with barrel percentage. So you're finally starting to see some of these hard hit balls actually fall around, go towards the corner, actually get out of the stadium a little bit more. I don't know if it's the weather warming up a little bit, or just finally the luck of baseball gods on our side, but it just finally looks like a complete team for us.
Yeah. Uh, you know, it's the game of averages. It's a cliche, but it's so true. And it's the same in almost any sport. If you're playing basketball and you have a team that shoots 40% from three, if they're 0 for 10 to start the game, expect them then to hit the next 8 of 10 threes. Same with baseball. You know, if you have a high enough barrel percentage and you're continuously finding the barrel, the ball is eventually going to find those gaps. What I really appreciate about the offense this far into the season is the home run isn't the emphasis, and I know that they discussed it earlier in the season, but these runs that they are manufacturing, a lot of it isn't by the long ball. It seems like they are truly trying to maybe what we would call the classic Twins way, the Tom Kelly era and Ron Gardenhire era, where it's find the gaps. The whole reason why David Ortiz left, essentially. But it seems like it's working. And if you're going to continue it, continue it. Now, to be fair, taking 5 of 6 from the White Sox and the Angels, it's not saying much. However, it could give you some momentum going into the Cleveland series coming up, and then Boston afterwards. And they're both on the road as well. I believe you're going to have decent weather in Cleveland, and you'll probably have decently warm weather in Boston as well. Going back to Carlos Correa's struggles in April, it's noted from Carlos Correa himself that April is never a good month. What do you see from Correa as of the last game and then going forward?
Um, well, last game he went 3 for 4, and it started to actually look like his old self. But even more than that, over the last week, his average has not really done a lot, but I would say his quality at bats has went up. He's drawn more walks.
Yep.
He's drew more pitches on average than at the beginning of the season. So a longtime veteran like that, they've been here before. He's struggled in his career. It's going to happen from every player at one point. And just seeing him actually be more confident in the bat or in the batter's box, being moved back up, back up to the 2 hole again. It's good to see. And I mean, even when he's struggling, he's still the leader and on the field. Every time there's a meeting at the pitching mound, he's the one calling plays, helping out everything. So it is good to see kind of your clubhouse leader with a hot bat again. It just kind of feels like the whole team's energy, kind of goes with that guy.
It'll be interesting to see the dynamic once Royce Lewis returns, only because the way that the season ended last year, it seemed like they were taking shots at each other through the media, where Royce Lewis would say something like, um, well, we don't get paid those big bucks, so we shouldn't be expected to perform like others that get paid big bucks. When Correa was not coming back to the team, and then Correa was taking shots back across the room, saying something like, um, "The young guys got to step up." So I am interested to see what that dynamic is like. I have a quote here from Rocco Baldelli following the series, and then coming up on this Cleveland series. I wanted to return more to taking it back to our roots, and I think that helps the guys focus on what they really need to do. It's easy when you know what your actual goal is, and we've set it pretty clear this season. So I feel like that shift really includes emphasis on the fielding drills, and I don't know what extra practice they have done in the field, but it does seem to showing up. Again, this is against two teams that really aren't very good. I don't think there's anybody on the Angels that bats over 250 or has an OPS over 700. I mean, even Mike Trout is batting like 195 for gosh sake. So it will definitely be an interesting series coming up. Um, Other than that, I'll talk about the rest of the matchups here. So we had Ober, Gavin Williams, we got Paddock, Tanner Bybee. Let's touch on Pablo Lopez for a second. Did you get a chance to see Pablo Lopez's outing?
Yeah. Well, I actually went back and watched his AAA rehab start. Um, and to me, exactly like what he stated. I think he could have pitched through his injury
Hmm.
because I know he didn't want to go on the IL in the original start. Um, but I'm okay with him taking it. It's early in the season. We need him on the field. Give him a little extra time and rest. But I mean, it's classic Pablo Lopez.
Yep.
Deceptive with his pitches. He's got 3 out pitches. He's gonna give you innings and he's gonna give you an out. He's gonna show up every time. And then it's gonna see him. I mean, the guy he's facing on in a game 3 is not really that dominant of a guy, and it's a guy that if the Twins get out early, that's one game that we talked about needing out of the next 10 games on our last episode. We only need one more to win 6 out of 10.
That's right.
So you give us, one of our best pitches against one of their worst, and then tonight Bailey Ober has a guy, that's just extra. That's just extra for us. So it's gonna be good to see him come out and shove again.
I'm excited to watch Gavin Williams pitch tonight as well. He's been a hot prospect for Cleveland for the last couple of years. His fastball 98, 99 miles an hour for 5 or 6 innings. I think it will be a challenge for Twins hitters, but if they can get their timing right, then there's no reason why they can't succeed. I looked up on Baseball Reference this morning the playoff odds for the Twins after this 6 game run and the playoff odds for the Tigers. Let's play a little game. What do you think the playoff odds for the Tigers are at this point in the season?
11%.
99.
Oh,
I found that really, really astonishing, almost like is if that's a mistake. And then the Twins playoff odds. I don't have the exact number on me, uh, but what I do know is it's down 1% from what it was before the White Sox series. What would you give this team for playoff odds? The Minnesota Twins, that is.
Uh, 33%.
33%.
Yep. Honestly, if our offense can pick it up and we can stay out of the injury bug, and then, a couple key guys come back, Wallner, Royce, join some hot bats that are starting to catch up, we could make a little run and a little push and maybe a wild card spot. Um, or even the division, our divisions, they got some young teams and some talent, but no one's gonna blow this division over.
You're right. You're right.
So I'm not gonna say, I mean, we're definitely not out of it. It's way too early to say. In the last 6 games, we're nice to see us actually beat those teams that everyone projected to be in the bottom. Um, but at the same time, there's still just some giant question marks I have. You know, Again, we talked about a little bit. A young Festa gets sent down who's pitching well, and you have Paddock who you call him a vet, but honestly, he hasn't pitched in 2 years. So
Yeah.
he hasn't proven anything to me in the last 3 years that he should be in the starting rotation, and we keep him up. And you go into our other ones, Keyshaw, young player, gave us a spark. Offense seemed to kind of wrap around him for the 7, 8 games he was with us. David Festa pitches. All the guys, Correa talked about how the Slim Reaper gives him a competitive edge in the majors.
Yep.
So it's just to me, when you're having this success and you're having this young talent come up, kind of roll with it. There's other pitchers that in my mind we could have sent back to AAA and kept 6 starters,
Yeah.
especially with injuries or not injuries I guess anymore, but Lopez was on the IL. Keep him up. Give everyone a 6 day. Tell them you each got one more start and you might send another one back. I know what I don't know if we need to DFA him if Paddock does get sent down, and maybe that's why we didn't. But at the same time, what are we losing?
I think there is a leash with Paddock, and I think it's going to go through July. And if things still aren't picking up by July, and let's say the team is competitive, then I see some moves being made. I'm going to give you the run differential in the American League Central. Okay. So Detroit, who is on top of the division by 2.5 games, they're 18-10. They have a positive 42 run differential. They've only given up 87 runs, which actually is number three in the whole entire MLB. So their pitching has been fantastic. The Cleveland Guardians have actually given up 125 runs. So this might be a good opportunity for the Twins to score some runs this week for sure. And they're actually a negative 18 differential. The Minnesota Twins have an expected win-loss rate of 14-14 instead of their record of 12-16. So again, it goes to that whole bad luck narrative. But they're only -2 for run differential. They've only given up 108 runs, which is pretty about top 10. And then their offense is probably, you know, it's third in the AL Central. They've scored 106. There's still some meat on the bone, so to speak. If Royce Lewis can come back and hit and add something to this lineup, then there's no reason why the team really can't go on a run and be competitive in July. Myself, I'd still give them about a 45% chance to make the playoffs. Because it does seem like the pitching's there, and they have the bullpen. They have the depth in the bullpen as well. It's not going to be a complete disaster if somebody goes down in the bullpen. I think they're pretty loaded in that regard. Um, Overall, I think that they can compete. I did want to bring up one thing with you though. I've been really watching it a lot lately, and I think the importance of getting some sort of catcher here in Minnesota is going to be pivotal if they want to actually compete. I watched Ryan Jeffers catch, and as much value as he may bring on offense, which is kind of like mid value, the defense is really, really poor. And it seems like the defense is still mid to poor even with Vasquez, and Vasquez doesn't have a great stick either. What do you think the odds are of them trading for a catcher in July
Well, I guess
if
it
they're
goes back.
competitive?
It I mean, we have the prospects to do it, unfortunately. I mean, you're looking at, we mentioned David Festa already, young prospect in the minors.
Hmm.
Zebby Matthews is like 2-1 with a 1.9 ERA and 5 starts.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we even have prospects, there's a young McCuster outfielder in AAA right now.
Oh, I love him.
And he's already on a team that has depth in the outfield.
Hmm.
So you're looking at a guy who could get stuck in there, doesn't know if you're bringing him up. That's a perfect guy to use as trade bait.
Yep.
Um, because if we're talking we're competing, we're obviously not going to get rid of Buxton. We're
No.
not going to get rid of our top guys, but we have guys to trade. I mean, we really do. What will our management or front office do? I don't know, and what they'll want to give up. Um, it kind of goes, you don't want to give up too much, not make it when you are in the contention, and then you're out of prospect for the next 3 years. Because you also got to look at long run. You know, are we really going to be a contender for the playoffs or a contender for the division?
Right.
Because you look at your top teams, and I know we just beat the Mets in a series not too long ago, but I don't think we match up against the top 6 teams in the LB. So
No.
it's gonna be tough. It's. I hope we do make a move if we are there, just to kind of give the fans something. Um, but I don't know what it'll be or what we'll have to give up.
If I could just stress the importance of a pitcher, especially one that can frame. Cleveland has two of the top three catchers in all of major leagues in pitch framing, and two of Minnesota's catchers aren't even in the top 20 in the whole entire major leagues. And to extend that point even further, Cleveland has given up 125 runs so far this season, which is bottom half of the league, and they're still getting good pitch framing. So again, opportunities for the offense, but there's also opportunities for this series for the catchers to steal a lot of strikes. So I think it's going to be important for this series coming up that the Twins batters are aggressive early on in counts, only because it seems like the Guardians overall are stealing strikes and stealing strikeouts with their catchers. So it's something to watch. I challenge anybody that watches the series this week against the Guardians, watch how Jeffers receives the ball behind home plate, and then also watch how the Guardians catchers, Austin Hedges and I'm spacing on the other catcher for the
Naylor.
Naylor. Thank you, Naylor. Watch how they receive the ball behind the plate in comparison. It's a big difference. I've watched a little bit of Guardians baseball over the last few days, and it's night and day. Such a pivotal position. I think that the series coming up is going to be, personally, I'm going to guess a split 2-2. What do you have?
I was gonna say probably if we come out tonight and we keep the momentum rolling, I could see us actually winning 3 out of 4.
Okay.
Um, but the question is tonight, and then we do have a little bit of tough matchups. Chris Paddock we mentioned and everything like that. But I think we keep the momentum going tonight. I project that we're going to beat Pablo. Or no, Pablo Lopez is going to give us another W.
Yep.
We need one of the other 2 games to not necessarily steal one, but probably win a tight one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And going back to the whole expected win and loss record, again, Twins 14-14, Guardians 12-15, expected win or loss. So the Twins on paper, analytics are the better team record wise. So this should be a 3 of 4. I just don't have my faith placed in this team yet to go 3 or 4 against Guardians, especially since I was embarrassed so much by that sweep by the Braves. My ego is still hurting a little bit from that. All right, last topic. Give me your Eddie Julian update. What do you got?
Well, I mean, he's hitting leadoff again, so
Yeah, he
I'm sure
is.
you'll hate that to start it off, but um, it's not the worst issue that we have. I don't understand why Mickey Gasper's DHing over Brooks Lee today.
Yeah,
I don't get it, but Julian, I get you. He's gonna hit 4 RBIs this series.
that's your call.
Yep.
I'm gonna say 1 for 9 with 3 strikeouts and a double that he's gonna try to stretch into a triple and he gets thrown out on the base paths. And that's me being positive. I can't be too negative about this team because if I am, then I'll look completely stupid. But in all seriousness, I would really like to see Julian not at the top of this lineup or in this lineup at all for the remainder of this season. And I'm only saying that. I'm only saying that because every time I say it, he goes off. So I gave him props last podcast. Julian, you heard me. You're no good. I expect you to do good this week. So, do you have anything else to add?
That's nothing.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll talk to you next time.